Good morning, guys. We're going to work on two different types of word problems today. You have to remember how to factor. I hope we do. This is what we did before we left school. So, I am still on Unit 13, but I went to the front. I'm on page 1 and I am doing number 1. It's a word problem. So the first thing we have to do with steps, and I can write the steps here, is we have to set up the problem. So in order to set it up, we're going to read. It says, and we'll even highlight it if you'd like, the square of a number. So the square of a number. How do I write the square of a number? X squared. That's the square of a number. Then it says, added to 3 times the number. So if it's added to 3 times the number, that's 3x. Is always gives me an equal sign, 28. So we set up the problem. The second thing you must do, if you remember, is get equal to 0. So the only thing I have to move is that positive 28. In order to move it to the other side, I just give it the opposite sign. I subtract 28 from both sides. Cannot combine like terms, so I'm left with x squared plus 3x minus 28. That's going to equal 0. My next step is we're going to factor and we're going to t-chart. Now, I know you remember when you factor, we're going to double bubble. It's going to equal 0. And we're going to make a t-chart. But do you guys remember what I taught you? And I'll put a little star over here. Okay, and what I told you was if you go into y1, find the roots. That's your answers. You don't have to worry about factoring it. You already have the answers. So if you go into y1 and look at your roots, remember the roots are where it crosses the x-axis. So here, if I put that in, my parabola would look like that. Why don't all of you right now go to your calculator, go into y1, and you're going to put in x squared plus 3x minus 28 into your calculator. Find the roots. Everyone now do that. Find your roots. If you go in, find the roots. You can even pause my video. I know they're going to cross at 4. And I know they're going to cross at negative 7. That's it. That's your answer. X is negative 7. X is 4. And you are done. Now, if you factored this, do you remember what I told you? If you go up and factor it, whatever the roots are, whenever you're inside the parentheses, your signs are opposite. And that's it. That's all you have to do for that one. Now, I'm skipping number 2, and I'm going on to number 3. It says, the length of a rectangular garden. So if you noticed, I drew a rectangle. So they say the length is 5 more than the width. So if I want to write that down, I have the length is 5 more than is plus the width. X times x plus 5. Okay. Then they give me a little bit more information. The area is 6. And they want you to find the dimensions. If you remember, area, you want me to write that down, is length times width. So now my area is going to be x times x plus 5. And that's going to equal 6. You guys are now probably saying to yourself, parentheses, what's the good property? What's the first thing I must do? I must distribute before I can do anything else. So when I distribute, x times x is x squared. X times 5 is 5x, and that's going to equal 6. Then you're just back to the same problem you did. You set up the problem. Number 2 says get equal to 0. I must move this 6 over, right? I know I'm going to just subtract it. They are not like terms. X squared plus 5x minus 6 is 0. The next thing I want to do is factor. And I want to do a t-chart. So if I factor and do a t-chart, I can also use my trick. Everyone now, go to y1. y1, you're going to plug in x squared plus 5x minus 6 into your calculator, and I want you to get me the roots. So everybody do that now, because that's it. That'll be the answer. You never have to know how to factor. So I know my parabola sort of looks like this, I'm believing. Here's my root here. I think that's a 1. And this will be a negative 6. So my answers are negative 6 and 1. If I go back, because I want to show my work, I just change the signs inside the bubbles. That's it. There's one little trick here. This is the only thing you have to remember. The x minus 6, we're doing length. 6 is not a length. You can't have a negative, okay? So what we're going to do is we reject the negative. So you just cross it out, because you can't have a negative length. So if I reject the negative, my only answer is x equals 1. Now, when they tell you to do that, x equals 1, you have to go back and you have to plug in. I got x equals 1 here, so that's your 1 answer. And this says x plus 5. Well, if x is 1, what's 1 plus 5? 1 plus 1 is 1 plus 5 is 6. So what are my two answers? 6 and 1. And if you check it, you can come over here and check it. I told you area was length times width. Well, the length is 6. The width is 1. What's 6 times 1? 6. And that's what we started with. So those are the two types of questions you're going to work on today. You're going to still work on page 1. And you're just going to do 2. And you're going to do 2 and 3. I did 4, sorry. This is number 4. Typical Miss Sakala. Number 4. Okay, so you're going to do 2 and you're going to do 3. Then you're going to take a picture of it and send it to me. Any questions, message me. I can answer.